do you have enough to live abroad? The amount might be a lot lower than you might think. Today we're going to watch a video from a YouTuber known as Vagabond Awake. His name is Dan. I've been following his videos for a number of years. He's lived all over the world. A lot of places in Southeast Asia, which is where I'm interested in temporarily living. And there's many countries over there that the amount might shock you how low the cost of living truly is. He might cater more towards the retirement people because he's covering, do you have enough money to retire? I will pause sporadically and kind of then talk to people maybe closer to my age and generation where, let's say you might be a digital nomad or pursuing an online income. I'll kind of talk about the amounts you might need to reach before considering if, I could probably continue to do what I'm doing, but then relocate to a better location with better weather, better healthcare, and make just enough money to get by, maybe even thrive. So let's go watch Dan's video now.
Now, each of us has completely different personal circumstances, such as our assets, pensions, and the place we want to retire. I will use examples similar to data people have asked me over the years, just in case you happen to fall in or close to one of these. But you can adjust the data fields with your personal data once you see how to do it for yourself. Sample set of data 1. My present age is 65. Life expectancy is 90. My monthly cost of living today would be $1,800. You have to adjust it, which I'll explain at the end how to do that. Cost of living inflation estimate of 5%. My income and assets, Social Security pension, $1,900 a month. Annual cost of living adjustments, Social Security and pension, COLA adjustment of 3%. Cash in the bank, $100,000. Cash in the bank interest rate, 1.5%. Standard & Poor 500 index, $150,000. It's in that index.
Damn, Dan, you're doing very well. But of course, you're 65. You've had a whole career, lifetime to build towards that. I think, you're definitely going to be sitting right, being able to retire 10 years ago, probably. I think these numbers are very high, higher than you actually need. But he's going to talk about different investment options. You know, I see he has listed the S&P 500 index that he has a lot of investments in, his bank with probably a savings account, and then he has Social Security, pension from retirement coming in. All those combined, easy. If you're near the age of retiring, if you're anywhere close to those savings and numbers, you'll probably be fine unless you live just very, very, very excessively. But that's harder to do over there.
In this set of examples, it starts at $1,900 per month, which is $22,800 per year. And then it grows at 3% compounded every year until age 90. And then it shows you in 5-year increments how much it increases. Continuing in the analysis, at age 65, ChatGPT says that your annual expenses are $21,600. Your income is $22,800. That's for Social Security. And so you have a little bit of a surplus there. There's nothing taken out of the portfolio. In fact, in the early years, it adds to the portfolio. By the time you're age 70, when the annual expenses are inflated to $27,500 and the Social Security income is inflated to $26,400, at that point, you still have a surplus and you're growing. And that continues. Age 80, you can see the annual expense is $44,800. Income was $35,500. And so you have a $9,300 surplus. Now you're all the way up to $425,000. So your portfolio, which included your bank of of 100,000 drawing 1.5% interest, and your S&P index starting at 150, drawing the 10-year average interest, those two added up is up to 425,000. And don't worry, I'm going to give you lower numbers if you're worried about that. And also in this example, there's no S&P assets to help soften the blow of your retirement. And as before, all income but Social Security is taxable. Again, the $1,800 a month is unchanged. If you add 5% for inflation, by the time you're age 90, the cost of living per year is up to $73,000. And as with Social Security, since we kept the COLA at 3%, by the time you're age 90, it's $47,800. And so let's see what happens when we only have $50,000 in the bank to start. Okay, at age 65, we have a little surplus of $1,200. And then by 75, our annual expenses are 35, and our Social Security income is 30,000. We've lost 4,500 out of savings. By age 85, our annual expenses are 57,200. Social Security income is 41,200, and cumulatively, we've lost 16,000. Let's see what happens to the drawdown in savings. So you can see by age 75, the starting balance of 50,600 has a $4,500 drawdown, and that dropped it to 47,800. By age 85, the 50K has a drawdown of 16,000, and that drops it down to 22,000. And at age 90, you can see that you're out of money. You're in the red of 4,000. So you'd run out of savings around age 89 or 90 under these assumptions, just barely before your life expectancy. If you reduce your cost of living by just 20 to 25%, for example, moving abroad where $1,400 a month covers the same lifestyle, your money would easily last to age 90 with a much.
So what Dan was saying on his slides, I'll just quickly give you the summary, and I'll leave a link to his video below if you want to check out his whole video. I think it's worth watching, especially if you're nearing that retirement age, which is mainly what he's speaking towards. But he's plugging in these scenarios into ChatGPT and having it kind of calculate based on the amount of income you're earning from Social Security if you're retired. Also trying to adjust for inflation. So he gave his expenses growing a certain percentage each year from inflation, which will happen through various things that you purchase, but also the increase you get from Social Security. And then also if you have like $50,000 sitting in your bank account, which isn't the most smart thing to put your money in, because he was given it the scenario of only earning like 1.5% interest. You could at least put it into pretty stable ETF stocks on apps like Webull. And if you want to start doing that, I've made videos about how to invest your money more properly, so it's keeping up with inflation costs. But he gave it like the worst case scenario of just sitting in a bank earning like very low interest of 1.5%. And if you just start with 50K, and I know it's still basing it off of some Social Security coming in, so that you still kind of need some other type of income, is what I'm going to get at. You can technically live and retire early off $50,000, especially if you move abroad and keep your expenses low. They were doing it based on a like $1,800 per month expense. But then ChatGPT says, well, you could lower your expenses by moving abroad and it'll be closer to $1,400 a month, which might still be, probably what you want to aim for, to assume you might spend that much. But I'm about to break down in another video how cheap I was paying for rent living in Thailand. And you got to stay out of Bangkok and some of the more expensive cities to achieve these low costs of living. But I was only paying like $220 a month in rent, and then maybe another $200 to $300 in food. So you could, if you live pretty frugal, you could definitely live under $1,000 a month. Um, just saying, by relocating. So if you can find a way to generate some other type of income, he's given the situation if you have to be retired already, because most people rely on Social Security. But if you're a digital nomad, if you have online products you're selling, or if you make videos online or do services online, you can live a pretty easy life overseas if you're still making the American dollar, which is what Dan was saying in the beginning of the video. So yeah, I'll leave links to his video and slides to see what numbers might be accurate for you, because it is all going to come down to what you spend, how you want to live, what certain conveniences and comforts you want. Like I said, if you live frugal, you could probably aim for like $800 a month, and that's me adjusting for inflation. But if you are supporting other people, or live a more luxurious lifestyle, want to travel more often, or drink every night, yeah, 1600 isn't far off, probably, if you live that type of lifestyle. So I'll break down soon what I spend living in Thailand, because like he was hinting at, you could retire way earlier than you think. People think you need hundreds of thousands of dollars to get to that point. And yeah, that helps. It helps if you can start there. But I don't think it's necessary. And I think if you invest properly, you can achieve retirement much, much sooner while generating passive income, while living a little more mindful and frugal about what your costs and expenses are. So if any of this was helpful, be sure to like this video and go watch the other related topics I have involving moving abroad and living free. Don't stop chasing the escape.